Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Nur Ramli and I would like to present the first point on the topic, which is personalized system of instructions, or PSI. So the founder is Keller. Keller was originally designed to assist students in Brazil at the newly set up of University of Brasilia to learn a source of material without the needs to have an instructor or lecturer present. When Keller come back to the United States, he brought his PSI program along to try it out with the local student, which is Arizona State University. In the initial stage, the method was more popular among professors in the psychology and eventually in the other areas of study. Last but not least, Keller saw instructor as facilitator of learning rather than the person who actually impart the knowledge. So the conclusion for the history, PSI has proven superior to the conventional teaching method with which is compared. Supported from the other research, he concluded that PSI are more important because it's come from the individual well-known for maintaining that no teaching method is superior to any others. So we go to the introduction. Teaching of learning is the all as human being on earth. The process has undergone several changes that non-formal to formal. Okay, the first point for the introduction is PSI is one of the recent innovation. Why? Because it's successful introduced in the higher education to individualize instructions. This system of instructions, which person-oriented, it is more emphasized on the individualization of instruction that other method in the higher education. The instruction drill to the needs and ability of the individual learner. The second is PSI model is more student-centered. More student-centered instruction model that enables students to work at their own pace to master skill and progress through prescribed learning paths, with the teacher acting as a facilitator, tutor, motivator, and rather than the primary source of knowledge. So the third is PSI is designed to encourage independent learning for students while also allowing the teacher greater freedom to interact with the student who needs the extra support. Next, PSI is the mastery learning model, which seeks to promote mastery of a prescribed set of objectives from the other learner in a course. Students work through a series of self-paced modules. Last but not least is PSI module grant in the full of students to learn through module already made by the teachers. Evaluation can be done by yourself, a friend, or teachers. It is suitable for the courses for the student in expected to acquire a well-defined body knowledge or skill. Researchers have suggested the use of PSI increase student learning and allow for more physical education through increased practice time and decreased teacher management time. The second one is successful of PSI and physical education has been documented for volleyball, golf, and tennis, and as well as personal fitness. And the last is the result indicates that PSI not only increase student content knowledge but also provide the physical education needs to increase their fitness level. We go to PSI in the element of physical education. PSI is improve student fitness, and successful use in the PSI in physical education has been documented from volleyball, golf, tennis, as well as personal fitness. For example, is self-pacing on the learning process in PSI module requires students to make always give in every learning process. The module give by teacher for learner. If student will understand the module so that they can do a physical activities. Not only that, the implement of PSI module can also improve health related fitness knowledge for students. In the study, the use of PSI module to teach high school for the tennis class. Okay, during the study student, in the study also, the use of PSI module to teach high school tennis class. During the study, students are allowed to progress at their own pace, and the whole teacher given a reading materials to learn about tasks and required to master tasks before proceed to the next level or task. The result of the study concluded that PSI was effective in the helping students reach the come out criteria set by the teachers. Okay, some of the example of PSI in the context of physical education, we can see through the weight training courses with the almost exclusive focus on the psychomotor domain and the emphasis of sequence of teaching of individual skill. This is appear to be the well suitable for the PSI module. Teacher can get the feedback or the performance from the student by data was collected using the Likert scale, audio visual equipment, and the student and teacher observation. Observational data was decoded independently by into trainer, student, and the teachers. This tool included a written student manual for each unit, a video that could be viewed on the student at the workstation. So from that, they can have more better understanding. There's some of example of effective teaching skill for physical education, included that start and stop cues, instant activities, use of questions, and last is use of cross group feedback. So the conclusion is PSI module offering freedom in the student to select a movement level will they learn, so that the result of learning will be in line with the capability owned by the each student. Teacher only be a motivator for each the success of student in the perform movement in accordance with the learning that in the module. Thank you. So I pass to the next presenter, which is Aisha Farha.
thank you to Norain. Okay, Assalamualaikum and a very good afternoon to Dr. Ani and my friends. I'm Aisha Vahra binti Amda and I will continue to the objective of personalized system of instruction. PSI allows students the opportunity to progress through a series of tasks in a learning module at their own pace. Each module that is given to the learners include information on task presentation, task structure, performance criteria, and error analysis. All the tasks and criteria are given through prepared materials such as written instruction and video samples that are provided by the instructor, which is by their teacher. The PSI has been involved to fulfill the specific instructional objective, which may be enumerated as number of the first objective is to establish better personal social relationship in educational process. At present, we find that there is hardly any personal social relationship between the teacher and the students. The PSI has bridged and this gulf by introducing one-to-one relationship between the teacher and the student. In PSI also, there is more interaction between the teacher and the student. Teaching learning problems are solved on the personal basis. Second objective is to provide increased frequency and quantity of feedback to the instructor with the consequent benefit of a basic, meaningful revision in program, content, and instructional procedure. The PSI instructional model has a mastery requirement, knowing that all students learn differently and at varied rates of acquisition. PSI allows for differences among students. Students are able to pick up where they left off in the module from the previous class season. During each class, the teachers spend time giving one-to-one instruction and feedback to the student. For example, in the physical education class, the teacher teach the student on the right technique on how to serve in badminton. The teacher gives the instruction to the student and the student practice at their own pace. Meanwhile, at the same time, the teacher came to the student and give one-to-one feedback to the student when they are finished practice. The third objective is to evaluate on the basis of fixed standards are mastery in a variable time of period at the acceptable level of performance of the students. Flip the existing methods relies on the relative evaluation of student performance in compete with other students during a fixed time period, but in the PSI, evaluation is based on a fixed standard of mastery in a variable time period. The time varies from individual to master the acceptable level of performance of a student. Okay, in the PSI course, content is separated into unit portion. In order to advance to the next unit, the student must demonstrate mastery of the content. For example, taking a quiz or completing a physical demonstration that requires a minimum score to be reached for completion of the task can demonstrate unit mastery, because in PSI has a mastery learning element. Students who do not reach the required mastery score for each particular module they are required to repeat the module until they reach the specific mastery score. Once students have reached the specific requirement, they proceed to the next module. If students do not complete the skill task within the specific amount of opportunities, the student will be asked to repeat the module again. When retaking a quiz, a different quiz over the same information is provided. Okay, the last objective is to provide frequent reinforcement for learning. In the present system of instruction, the reinforcement is not frequent, and whatever it is not provided in a systematic way at the appropriate time. The speed and the quantity of feedback the student is increased in PSI. The education of their learning performance is increased with constant benefit of instructional decision appropriate for individual remediation.
Jadi inilah dia anak-anak murid saya yang untuk kelas PJK hari ni. So hari ni teacher nak ajar kamu PJK pasal badminton. Jangan ada satu helai kertas pun atas meja kamu, ya. Teacher tak nak kamu salin. Teacher nak kamu ingat semua. Guna kemahiran mengingat kamu ni, cara teacher nak buat badminton. Okay? Cara nak ajar main badminton. Dengar tu Syami. Okay, first thing first, teacher nak kamu belajar macam mana cara nak buat servis. And then teacher nak kamu yang atas sekali tu, Hadi, Awak tak reti buat smash. Teacher nak kamu buat smash tu dengan betul, ya. Next week teacher nak kamu tahu macam mana caranya nak buat smash tu dengan betul. Tak perlu salin-salin. Ingat sendiri macam mana cara nak buat. Okay? Ingat tu semua. Hey, Haikal, awak kalau tak main main macam ni, biar saya main. Cara nak main badminton ni macam ni, biar saya je lawan. Awak bukan reti main pun. Macam ni smash. Macam ni loh. Kalau awak tak reti main, biar saya je lah yang main. Susahlah saya, awak nak ajar saya. Macam ni main dia. Cepat, lawan. 1-0. 2-0. Kan senang. Biar saya je lah main. Awak tak payah main. Hi, my name is Nurul Atika Azhari. I'm going to talk about characteristic of PSI. Okay, there is a point of self-pacing. So, first, self-pacing, as you know, self-pacing is a student-centered learning. Okay, the use of self-pacing in PE class, for example, if teacher want to teach about how to play in badminton, so we have several type of service in the badminton. So independent study progression is mean student is complete all the type of badminton service by their own. Okay, which is teacher are not pushing them to complete all the tasks faster or rapidly. So student repeat the same skill, which is if they not master in service, okay, the first service, if they not master, so they need to master the service by doing a practice and repeatedly doing the same thing. So there is no limitation in fulfill all the skill. Okay, so what is teacher do? Teacher need to give some cues and guide them, which is verbal guidance, which is teacher just say, okay, Atika, you need to do like this, or you need to do like this. Okay, you don't need to bend like this. Okay, like that. So and then teacher will give task related to the feedback, task related feedback, which is teacher giving a verbal feedback toward their skill. So what they need to do, okay, what they master, okay. So that is a self-pacing meaning in PSI. Okay, mastery based learning. Mastery based learning, it's mean, okay, the performance of each task is to criterion, which mean a percent of task or assignment is complete to criterion by all students in the class. So it is mean student, just now I say the service in badminton, so the student will master step by step, right? So it is the meaning by performance of each task to criterion, which is the student will finish the task by their own pace and master all the step in badminton. Okay, and then student rating of PSI for learning. It is means student perceive increase in skill and knowledge. Okay, because student perceive increase in skill and knowledge because there is a repetition. Okay, there is a repetition on fulfill the task, which is if they will repeat the same task until they master the task, and after they master and teacher give a feedback, and they need to move to other skill. Okay, so student can rate of PSI for learning. Okay. Teacher as motivator, it is mean teacher just act as motivator, which is teacher will give some feedback, some evidence, some guide, cues to help student clearly understand on the skill that they perform. Okay, high rate of practice is mean teacher act as motivator to increase the high rate of practice in their class. Okay, teacher which is mean less talk and more action. So teacher less talk and student will do more action. Okay, so it will increase their practice. And then high rate of attendance, okay, which means when a teacher act as motivator, so student is more likely to attend their class average. Okay, teacher also provide a lot of feedback, a lot of advice, a lot of cues, okay, to help student to clearly understand the skill that they perform. Okay, so why teacher as motivator? Because this PSI is in term of student based learning. Okay, student need to complete their task by their own pace. Okay, teacher need to less demo or less talk. So emphasis a written word, which is all the material is used in the PSI is on a written word, which is the written form, the study material, learning material, class operating, and there is a low lecture or demonstration time, which is the quizzy, the questionnaire, the evaluation, the feedback are in written form. Okay, so teacher will provide a written point, written form in A4 paper. Okay, so the student need to read or answer the question on written also. So low lecture or demo time, which is the percent of class time student spent in lecture or demonstration, is low, which is teacher just teacher just write the study material, and student need to read the study material and refer to it for their understanding. Use of protocol, which is student will record themselves, okay, for giving a feedback to a teacher, okay. Also, use of protocol is help for teacher to evaluate them or observing them by looking on their video, okay, which mean if the student is go back home and record themselves on practice the skill, so after that teacher will review and evaluate their video and their practice by looking on the video. And the use of protocol also to for questionnaire, okay, for assignment. So student will looking on the study material and answer the questionnaire, and teacher will give some feedback by using the protocol.
Assalamualaikum and good afternoon to Dr. Ani and all my fellow friends. So today I'm Muhammad Haikal, so I'm going to talk on pros and cons in personalized system of instruction. Personalized learning and individualized instruction are now recognized as crucial element of student-centric teaching that fosters real progress and achievement. This is a significant departure from the way classrooms have been structured in the past as a one-size-fits-all environment, with all students generally receiving information at the same time and the same way as their peers, regardless their prior knowledge or academic strength and weakness. So we go to the pros on personalized system of instruction. Okay, first point, close learning gaps. There are often significant learning gap between individuals. It is to assist struggling students while simultaneously engaging gifted learners. But that is exactly what individualized instruction aims to do, delivering material at an optimal pace that caters to each student's interests and abilities. Next is build confidence in student. If a struggling student continue struggle, they will lose confidence in themselves and their intellectual capabilities. Individualized instruction can help students gain self-confidence as a learner because lessons are tailored to their specific abilities. As a student gradually build their comprehension and mastery of more complicated material. Next is greater engagement for teachers and students. Individualized learning approach has been shown to be a more engaging experience for both teachers and students. Instead of standing in front of the classroom and explaining new concepts, stopping to pause as students calmly and patiently raise their hands, teachers have more opportunities to interact with students on one-on-one when using individualized instruction in their classroom. Lastly is students work at their own pace. Individualized instruction gives students the opportunities to work at own pace and areas without affecting the learning of their peers. A gifted student may work ahead while students who are struggling in a particularly area can take time they need to review and master a concept that they may have previously not fully understood. Cons in personalized system of instruction. First point is extra preparation. Individualized instruction often requires a great deal of preparation up front. If school isn't using an intelligent adaptive learning system that collects student data to achieve personalized learning outcomes, teachers will need to truly research the academic history of each student and the way he or she learned best. Next is teachers need to adjust to a new paradigm. Any changes associated with the transition to individualized instruction, personalized and blended learning may need teachers are questioning where they fit in the modern classroom. The use of technology is designed to free teachers to spend more time with individuals or small group, while the remainder of class is enabled to work at their own pace with the program. And by leveraging the detailed student information many of these programs provide, the interaction between the teachers and the student can become even more productive. Lastly, restructuring the classroom. New approach to education many require a great deal of classroom restructuring. A classroom structures may need to be adjusted to accommodate individualized learning. In other words, instead of the traditional rows of desks facing the blackboard, classroom seating arrangement may need to be more flexible so the teachers can be work with individual or small group while the majority of students work independently with a personalized learning student program. So as a conclusion, PSI was designed to provide a general framework for effective teaching that would allow the instructor the option of using a variety of instructional material or technique within individual's course lesson. The core unit of instruction in PSI is more like the conventional homework, assignment or laboratory exercise, and the use of program text, a teaching machine or some sort of computer aid within a such as course is entirely possible and may be quite desirable, but it is not to be equated with the course itself. Caleb 1968. Okay, that's all from me and my group. Thank you.